I'm a little nervous. How's my hat? Is it all right? There's a lot of people out there. And I'd like to take a picture of it real quick. So, you can just hold on. All right. Say cheese. All right. Thank you. Before I get started, I just wanted to take a second to thank all the friends and family that came here to celebrate with us today. Because if it wasn't for you, there's a lot of us who wouldn't be here right now. So, thank you. I'd also like to thank all the administrators, the staff, and especially the instructors, because without you, none of us would be here. Thank you. Lake Superior College has taught me a lot, but I'd like to take a minute right now to give a shout out to some of the instructors that truly made my education at LSC extraordinary. And maybe the rest of you can shout along with me if you know them and love them like I do. So, in the electronics program, Dave Lustela, Alan Alberg, and Chris Ringsred, thank you. And this guy's got my vote for the best math instructor ever, and that's Mr. Zbigniew Widawiak. And then biology was always a subject I kind of dreaded a little bit, but these teachers made it easy to learn and enjoyable, and that's Connie Schwegman and Brian Bish. So. I learned composition from Karen Bush and Amy Jo Swing, so if you're out there. And computer information systems from Thomas Gustafson. This teacher taught me humanities, but he also let me know that sometimes it's okay and even encouraged to have a nice long rant, and that's David Driscoll. I was lucky enough to have interpersonal communications with a man who I always said was more of an inspirational speaker than an instructor. And no matter what kind of mood I was in when I went into his class, I left feeling better about myself, and that's Mr. Boyd Dallows. From this guy, I learned chemistry, but I also learned a lot more than that. People always say to find something you love and make a career out of it. And he's managed to do that, and he's been doing it for 25 years, and that's Mr. Kent Volkner. I could go on like this and name every instructor I had while at LSC. Every one of them had an impact on my life, and every one of them has my respect and admiration. If someone else were up here, they'd name a whole list of instructors that I never had the opportunity to learn under. But one thing shared by every instructor at LSC is a knowledge and love of their subject. There's one more person I'd like to mention though. I took 2 courses from this instructor, mainly because I didn't want the first one to end. But this instructor has so much love that it spills out of her, so you can practically feel it. When I found out she was retiring this year, I was saddened greatly, because this means that future LSC students won't have the opportunity to learn from her like I did. When she told me that she'd been teaching for 40 years, I couldn't believe it, because I didn't think she was even 40 years old. Betsy Little, it was an honor to be one of your students. LSC won't be the same without you. And as she always says at the end of every class, peace and love. So. Now the graduates, and let's just take a moment to let that sink in. I think it just hit me about 2 minutes ago when I stood up here. But we've graduated, and we've got the silly hats to prove it. I mean, who came up with these, right? Like, I thought I saw Galileo backstage, but it was just Dr. John. But I guess I'm supposed to leave you with a message, and they asked me to speak so I could share some profound wisdom or something. I kind of wonder if they even know who I am. Each of us graduating here today arrived by a different path. We've all faced and overcame obstacles unique to each of us. I can't speak to each of your experience. I can only speak from mine. Lake Superior College taught me a lot, but the most important lesson I learned were outside of the classroom, and those were taught by each and every one of you. As your Student Senate President, I had the honor and privilege to speak for you. That means I had to learn to think not of my own needs, but your needs. In order to do that, I had to learn what LSC students want, need, and desire. I had to find a way to balance the needs of the few against the needs of the many, and to find ways to make that happen. I'm sure you've all seen the posters of the Venn diagram hanging in LSE recently. They show 3 overlapping circles. One says homework, one social life, and one sleep. In the center, where all those 3 overlap, it says Jedi. And the first time I saw that, I chuckled, but then it made me think. There's a lot that diagram leaves out. The average age of an LSC student is 28. That means many of us have families with young children, husbands, wives. It means we're working to pay off a mortgage or struggling with a low-paying job to pay our way through school. It means we're racking up student loans to pay tuition, to pay for textbooks, and yes, to buy our silly caps and gowns. For some of us, it means we're ready to move on to a 4-year school to pursue a bachelor's degree. For some, it means we're ready to enter the workforce. For some, it means we can devote our attention to our families again. For some of us, it means we're done with school. But the most important thing I learned at LSC was that we're never, ever done with school. I always said you get out of your education what you put into it, and that's true. But it's not only true of education, it's true of life. We did not set out in the hope of finding a good job to make enough money to pay off our student loans. That is a hope that we have, but we set out to find the tools we need to make a difference. We set out to change the world, even if the only change we make is to ourselves, because when it comes down to it, those are the only people that we can change. But that's a very great power that each of us possess. If there's anything I can impart to you today, I want it to be the understanding that each of us, every day, have the potential to make our lives and this world what we want it to be. What each of us knows it can and should be. And that's a place of peace and prosperity. Not just for the wealthy few, not just for Americans, but for every man, woman, and child. And above all, for the earth itself. Because if we don't take care of her, how will she continue to care for all of us? We may be done at LSC, but that doesn't mean we're done. It means we're just beginning. Whether you're 18 or 75, this day marks the beginning of the rest of your life. It's a day when you can choose. You can choose to go home, hang your degree on the wall, kick back and put your feet up and admire the accomplishments of the past, or you can choose to honor that degree. You can do honor to the institution and the instructors that made you what you are. We honor them with our actions. We honor them by using our education, not just to do a good job, but to be better humans. We have a responsibility to use our education for the betterment of all. Never forget that even as you are closing this chapter of your life, others are opening theirs. I'll leave you with this thought. It's something that's long been a motto of mine. Influence the influential. It's been an honor to serve as your student. Sorry. It's been an honor to serve as your Student Senate President. It's been an honor to learn from each and every one of you. It's been an honor to speak to you here today. I can only hope that my words have had some influence on you, because you are the ones who will influence the future of our society. Now, to paraphrase the words of the great Kent Volkner, let's get this show on the road so we can punt and go to the liquid store. Congratulations, class of 2012.